Welcome to another Cleverly Changing podcast. I am one of your hosts, Elle, and we are all excited about our homeschool podcast. This podcast isn't just for homeschoolers, but is definitely from a homeschool perspective because we are two homeschool moms that are talking to you about education. This podcast is meant to help provide educational resources to help you supplement and educate your kids in all areas. Today's show is specifically about mathematics. And I know it is one of those subjects that can be challenging for both parents and children. So we really wanted to help give you resources that will help build confidence and help you understand math in a different way. So we definitely want you to tell somebody else about our podcast because when the podcast grows, we can provide more resources for you. We also want you to remember to leave us a review. It is very important to leave us a review wherever you are listening to our podcast, whether it's on SoundCloud or it's on iTunes. Please remember to leave us questions at our social media channels, which are cleverlychanging.com or Cleverly Changing on Facebook or Instagram. And you can send us an email at cleverlychanging.com. If you have comments or questions, we will be happy to get back with you.
It's now time for the word of the episode. Dun, dun.
Hesabu means math in Swahili.
This is Cleverly Cultured Kids!
I am here with my girls and we are talking about math today. Girls, are you ready to talk about math?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I want you to tell our listeners whether you like or if you don't like math, just tell them a little bit about math and how you feel about it.
Geometry is great. Everything else is semi-hard, but not... is of varying levels of difficulty.
I don't really like it that much. Geometry is easy. I don't really like the formulas, but yeah, everything else is fine.
All right, so it sounds like you girls have some mixed feelings about math, and it does surprise me a little bit because when you were young, you picked up math concepts fairly easily and you were great at memorizing. So what part of math started to get hard for you?
Fractions and stuff.
So when you say and stuff, what else besides fractions? What is the stuff?
Fractions, decimals, integers, that type of stuff.
Okay. And how do you think it can be made better?
I just need more practice.
So are you willing to do more practice?
Not really.
If you want to get better, you have to practice.
So do you practice?
I have classes that I'm supposed to take and that I have to take in order to practice.
And what are those classes?
Fractions and decimals and math boot camp.
So can you tell our listeners what you do in math boot camp and how it helps you practice?
We do math.
What type of math?
Math.
Is it addition, subtraction, multiplication,
PEMDAS.
division? So recently you've been working on, you just said something. What have you been working on?
PEMDAS.
And what does PEMDAS stand for?
Parentheses, multiplication, wait, no. PE. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction.
Okay. So you've been working on PEMDAS and integers. So is it something that's challenging about integers and PEMDAS? Because it's really just the basics, the parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. What was, I guess, challenging about it?
The fact that the order can be switched.
What do you think can make your math experience better?
Better, more practice, and having a better understanding of what you're doing.
When you look at brain pop videos that kind of explain the overall math concepts, does that help you understand your math better?
A little bit. Not really.
Have you tried using Khan Academy, or I know that in the past you used to use something called 10 Marks and MobiMax for math? What program or online resource has been helpful for you?
YouTube.
YouTube? So what about YouTube makes it better for you?
There are actually a lot more informative videos on YouTube that actually go into depth about all these subjects.
They show you examples in video form, and if you're a visual learner, it can help you see how the problems are solved, right?
Yeah.
Is there something that you think your mom or your dad or your tutor or your teacher can do to help students have a better math experience?
Not put it into worksheets.
So you don't care for worksheets. What else can help math experiences?
Other things like asking someone to help you with the problems.
So you just mentioned something too. You said what type of books?
Life of Fred.
Life of Fred books. And what do you like about Life of Fred books?
They show you where the math can be used.
In a practical way?
Yes.
Can you give us an example?
No, because I have terrible memory and I'm not supposed to remember one page of the book.
So do you remember maybe what story one of the books told that helped you understand a math concept?
Sadly, no.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I brought it up, but I can't give any examples, so.
That's fine. All right, so what we will do in our show notes, we'll definitely put a link to Life of Fred books so that you guys can see what that is.
You can find them at your local library, I hope.
You also may be able to find Life of Fred books at your local library.
You can also get them on Amazon probably.
Welcome to another Cleverly Changing podcast. This is our second segment where we have a grown folks conversation when it comes to education and homeschooling and teaching our children, supplementing their education. So again, this podcast isn't just for parents who homeschool, it's also for parents who want to supplement their children's education. Today, we actually have a guest with us, and I'm going to let him introduce himself. But to begin, I am one of your co-hosts. I am Elle, and this is
Miriam.
And our guest who's going to talk to us today is Brandon. So can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and your educational background?
Okay, sounds good. So, first of all, glad to be on the show. My name is Brandon Berry. I've been an academic coach for about 7 years. I've taught on the middle school level, and also I've taught as a professor at Frostburg State University. And education background is I have my master's in business administration. I got my bachelor's in the same thing because I really loved business. And but I ended up getting into education because I first of all, I was in my master's program and I realized how much I didn't really know math, but I'm getting my master's, but I don't even understand basic concepts in math. So so I really dug deep in digging deep into that subject and learning it for myself. Then I was like, hey, this mountain that I thought was so big was actually not that big. So I want to teach others. And that's how I got into education.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. So it kind of gave you an opportunity for self-discovery.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Most definitely. Most definitely.
All right. So I know that how you and I know each other is
Mm-hmm.
that you had a class where you taught mental math,
Right.
and my daughters took the class and they loved it.
Most definitely.
So they loved just learning math from you. So you definitely have a knack for teaching kids. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about um, how parents can encourage their kids to learn math? Because I think that was one thing. My kids aren't asking for math concepts from me,
Mm-hmm.
but whenever it was time for your class, they were like, "Oh, we can't miss his class. It's
Right.
so good." So your approach was definitely different. And can you kind of share a little bit of what you do that makes it fun for kids?
Well, I think it comes from okay, so because I have two kids of my own. So I know it's a little different when it's your kids minus somebody else's children. A little different because but this is why, because you have that, you know how great they can be, and you have a
Mhm.
certain expectation for how they should be at that very moment that you're teaching them. You're like, I taught you all this, you're supposed to know this, right? So we, as parents, we sort of don't um we're more, we're harder on our kids because we want the best out of them. When I'm teaching other kids, I give them more, I give them more space to mess up. That's the biggest thing. Like it's okay. It's okay if you mess up. I'm gonna walk you through it step by step. Really, I just want to see where you are now, so that I can bring you to the understanding that you need to have in order to grasp this concept. So that's really, and that's the approach that I come to. It's really the attitude coming into it that drives the educational approach. You see what I'm saying, or how I do it. Um, and so yeah, and then also I really so let me say this. So as a parent, I think the best thing would be to take a step back and be like, okay, my child is where they are right now. Okay. I know that they know this and they're acting like they don't know it right now, but let me be patient with them. Let me walk them through the concept of whatever we're learning at this time, and so that they can come to that point of understanding, and also so that they know it's okay to make a mistake. I don't have to be perfect every time. You see what I'm saying? um and I think if they have that understanding, then they'll be more like, oh, okay, yeah, it's no problem with you teaching me, because I know it doesn't come with that extra pressure to perform. You see what I'm saying? um so so that's on the attitude, that's on the approach side. On the technical side, the fundamentals are super 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 key. I really harp on the fundamentals. Like, it doesn't matter if you already know, skip counting, you already know your multiplication, you already know all this other stuff. I mean, that's great to know, right? um but if you get to that higher level and you're not, it, but you're not strong in it, it's not like if I ask you what's 5 times 8. If you don't know that instantly, then let's go back. Let's get that tightened up, because that shouldn't be a problem. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And that foundation is going to help you in higher level maths, and it's going to make sure you're confident when you're in those higher level maths. And more specifically, it's like one more connection that doesn't have to be made when you're solving a problem. Like that connection's already there. You already know what 5 times 8 is. It's a given, right? Exactly. So I really harp on the foundation, and the fundamentals, and taking that approach of, all right, let me give them space to mess up, so that we can get to that understanding that you need to have.
I think what you just said is huge, because I think in public school, and I know that our listeners may remember us talking about math and our different kids' experiences with math in the past. And I know Miriam, one of the reasons why she took her daughter out of public school, it had a lot to do with the math and them pushing her daughter before she was ready to go to the next. Can you kind of share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I was going to ask. Although I agree that, all right, yeah, so it does help to know, certain things very quickly. Right. But I understand the whole idea of the concept of being confident in what you're doing. Mm-hmm. But in most instances, is it really that pressing that you have the answer instantaneously? And my daughter doesn't do too well when she feels like she's being pressured. Mm-hmm. And so they were taking these time tests every day, and she was not getting even half of it done. It was, and honestly, it was a bit extra in my opinion. It had to be 50 to 100 multiplication problems to get done, right, in like 3 minutes or something like that. It was a short span. I don't know that I would necessarily get that done in that time frame. And I know my multiplications lickety split, but it was an issue for her, the pressure that she felt knowing that somebody had a clock on her. Right. And she was getting really, really discouraged, and it seemed like she wasn't even, staying on the same level. She seemed to be kind of regressing, and I was really troubled by that.
Well, okay, so this is what I would say to that. First, the first thing is that I think that's different. I think that's more like test anxiety, and again, being under that pressure to perform, as opposed to actually knowing it, knowing what you're doing. Because test anxiety, that could be another thing. That's a whole nother thing that I had to help myself go through it. And I've helped other people go through it, but and we could talk about that actually if you want to. But
sounds good.
But as far as it's okay. So my the reason why I say it needs to be like that, like it needs to be instantaneous with those fundamental facts. Okay, like the reason why I say that is because it's kind of like it needs to be like walking. You don't think about walking, you just get up and walk, but you had to learn how to do that. You had to learn how to walk, right? But you know it now. And now that's not an issue. So when you need to run, you're not tripped up. You're not like, well, I barely know how to walk. You can just run. You see what I'm saying? So in with that analogy, knowing your multiplication, knowing, addition, subtraction, all that, that's like walking. And then running would be knowing how to multiply decimals, fractions, algebra, what I'm saying? All that would be that would be running. You see what I'm saying? And so that's why it's important, and that comes with practice. Like there's really no way around that. There's no way around it. Like the people who are actually good at math, they're only good at math because they practice. Either they force themselves to practice or they practice naturally. Like they just practice. They actually are actually curious about what am I, what's this times this, what's this times that. And
Well, let me ask this question, if you don't mind me interrupting.
Sure.
What are some natural ways that, well, I guess I'm trying to see how parents would be able to create these scenarios or these environments where children would feel, not necessarily feel, but get the incentive to kind of just do it naturally or on their own, where they don't feel like it's in such a
like it's
teaching,
work.
like it's
like
work.
pressure
They don't want to feel like it's work, but yet you're giving them problems, they're answering them, and it feels more on the fun side than it does being forced. So I think kind of like when we were little and we were learning our phone number. I feel like that was a big concept that we had to learn when we were little, but it wasn't really that we had to learn it. For many of us, I do, but I didn't actually, so I was around 2 or 3. I didn't actually learn it. I just kept hearing people say it and I just picked it up. And I think math, it's really about patterns. And when you practice it enough, you begin to see how those patterns fit together. And so if you can get kids to fall in love with just the patterns themselves and numbers, it won't feel like they won't feel forced, they won't feel like it's work, and they'll have a better outcome with it. And so that's kind of how I look at it. Like, just like when we learned those numbers, unfortunately with technology, we're not so great with numbers. I'm still pretty good at it because I just like them. I still remember people's numbers, but a lot of people don't. But it is just like that. And so that's what we want for our kids. We want them to have that strong background, that foundation that you speak of, but we want it to be fun for them. And how do we, for those of us, because what happens with many parents, some of us were really good in math. And so we don't have the patience for our kids when they're struggling.
Yeah,
that, or just even the skills to be able to come up with different concepts and ways to approach a particular method. Not method, but subject.
A method.
So how can parents, I guess, make it more engaging so that it doesn't feel like work or forced work? And then the other part of that question would then be how, are there any strategies that parents can use who were good in math but don't really know how to approach it for their struggling learner?
Okay. All right. So one thing I would say, first of all, Elle, you were on the money when it comes to patterns and also how you learn how you learn numbers, or not numbers, the phone number, right? So the reason why we learn English or whatever language that we speak in the house, we learn it by osmosis, and we learn it from the people around us and we pick it up. And so with math, you don't really use that on a daily basis. We don't use 8 times 5 and all that stuff on a daily basis. But what you can do is you can use math when you're buying things. So I don't know if you buy things, whether you buy things in person or you buy things on Amazon or wherever. You can actually incorporate that into what your the lesson into whatever you're purchasing, right? And into whatever you're buying. So for example, if something is like $4, right? And you get 3 of them. You know, you can ask your child, okay, how much would this be total? Right. And it's not a like a quiz thing. If they get it wrong, fine. They get it wrong. But you just tell them, okay, well, this times this equals this, you know, and you break it down. Okay. There's something costs $4. I got 3 of them. All right. Well, just add 4 plus 4 plus 4. What's that? You know, you walk them through it.
Mm-hmm.
But if they get it wrong, that's the thing. If they get it wrong, don't shame them, because then it'll be more pressure to get it right than to actually understand what you're saying. You see what I'm saying? Because that's the point. You just want them to understand the concept, because their mind may not be shaped to understand that or think of the world in that way naturally. Some people are some people look at the world in a different way. You know, some people don't look at it in a logical way. Some people are more creative. I mean, as you know. But the again, the only thing is just being patient. For the second part of your question, being patient, and understanding and realizing that your child is not you. Again, I know that's a difficult thing to do, but realizing that your child is not you, and then also that it's if your child messes up today, it doesn't mean that your child is like less than, or your child's gonna be stupid in the future. Like, I already know that we think so far in the future with our children, you know, because we're raising them, you know, to be adults. So we're thinking, I mean, they may be 3 or 4 or you know, 5 or 6, but we thinking at 25, you know, like what you gonna be, you know. And so but we gotta, you know, really realize that they, again, just because they make a mistake today, or just because they don't understand it at this moment, doesn't mean that they're never going to understand. It just had to be walked into that understanding.
When you were talking, I also thought of another way. I think in the kitchen, when we're cooking, is a great way to incorporate math. So if you're baking with your kids, I know for us, we look at the nutrition box, we add up carbs, we add things. So I think there are numerous ways that families can incorporate math. You know, like if you're giving your kid a sandwich, you can cut the sandwich in 4 parts. Like, it's all in finding that creative way to make it flow in your daily life. To hone in those concepts, especially for little kids. When you do like a half of a sandwich, 1 + 1 is 2. That really makes it very practical, and it helps them to
when they're little. Once you get into more complicated things, it doesn't seem to come as easily. I know for myself, it doesn't seem to come as easily. So with the higher math, I struggle a little bit more with trying to find ways to make it approachable. But it's a lot simpler when it comes to the fundamental, you know, introductory math.
The fundamentals.
No, that's good. That's good.
They can both be. I don't think that it's impossible or anything like that. I know there's a way to approach it. You know.
But I think what Brandon was saying, like, if they got those fundamentals down, you know, like with that simple stuff, the addition and the subtraction, you know, that very simple stuff. Once they have those like excellent, then the other math, you just build on it, and that makes it a little bit easier.
Right. And then also like how old is your child, Mary?
They're 11.
11. Okay.
I have too many. I'm sorry.
She has more than one. But we are talking about we're talking mostly about the 11-year-old, but you also have other kids.
Oh yeah,
gotcha. And are they in? Is it she or he? Just
she.
Okay.
2 girls, 11 and 6. There we go.
Okay. Is she in algebra or pre-algebra, geometry, or?
Well, I guess it's more she's in 6th grade.
Okay.
So we are touching on some algebraics. She's not ready to jump into that yet. I'm still trying to solidify, you know, some super basic things. I find it very interesting for her. She really likes to do area. And she
okay.
So she likes geometry.
That's good.
If you if you go through and say, what's 3 times 5?
Mm-hmm.
And she'll look at you for a second and then she'll say it,
Okay.
And so it hasn't come, first nature to her yet, where it just pops out real quick.
Well,
but she has come an absolute far way, and I'm so proud of her.
That's good.
And I have to, like you said, be patient and be intentional about encouraging her and not making her feel disheartened or shameful about
messing up,
taking it slower or just not getting it on the first try.
Yeah, because that's a big, really, that's a big thing with society. That's a big thing with life. There's a lot of adults that don't even try things because for fear of failure. So really, that's a micro level of it. That hesitation to, just be free with what you're doing and what you're saying. That is for fear of failure. That's that if you break that out, if you say, hey, it's okay to fail, I'm giving you room to fail, it's all right, do it. Because then that's an opportunity to learn. That's the greatest opportunity to learn. You don't learn from success. Like, you got it, but you don't learn. You're not learning. You did it. You see what I'm saying? You're showing that you learned, but you're not learning. But as far as the algebra, the reason why I asked is because when you get into those higher level maths, then it's time to look at, okay, what are these higher level maths used for? Like, why do we have them? So, it's, for example, if you have, like in business, for example, if it's like, okay, I want to make $100. I have 3, say cutting grass, because that's all I can think of right now. Say I want to cut grass, right? I want to charge $50. How many grasses do I have to cut? How many lawns do I have to cut? That's algebra. That's the algebra right there.
Right.
You see? Because okay, how many grasses is the X, right? Then you got times 50 equals 100. And so that's, you make it practical. You bring it out to life. You said, she likes area too, which is really good because
it's multiplication.
And it's multiplication. You can literally take a tape measure. What's the area of this? What's the area of that? This times this. What's that? You can literally do that. And so that's how you make it fun. It's actually, there's plenty of ways that you can do it. It's just making it practical, making it fun for you and her, really. So you're not just, okay, was this times this, or was this times that, or what's this problem, or what's that problem? Because then also they're becoming creators. When you bring these math concepts into life, and then you're showing how what they're learning can be applied in their actual life. You may be surprised that she start creating some stuff. You like, dang, I didn't even think of that.
I'm waiting. She's so close. She's on the brink of so many great things. And I see this. And it's funny how you say, we have all these expectations for them because we know their
potential.
Yeah, we knew them before they saw the sun,
Exactly.
And we have this connection, and we really can kind of dig into their potential in a way that they may not be ready for or just don't understand yet.
Right.
And I look at them and I can see all these wonderful things bubbling, right on the brink, and you wish you could do, you want to do something that just boom, but you can't force the flower to bloom. You have to wait.
Just nurture and wait. Nurture and wait.
So one of the things that we wanted you to talk about on the podcast is your new class that you have, a new math class that you have coming out. Can you share the name of it and what it's about?
Okay, so I'm really excited about this. Really excited. it's called Motherland Math.
Ooh.
So as Elle told you, I actually taught a mental math class, and initially I wanted to make a self-paced version of that. But for some reason it wasn't kicking off, right? It wasn't I never made the self-paced version, by the way, but I was just getting stopped, and it wasn't flowing for me. Then and I've always had a passion for, Africa, and I'm of African ascent. I feel like we ascend, not descend, but anyways,
I like that.
and so I've always had a passion for our people, right? And with that, I was like, I would think about math and how it's looked, and how it's looked at, and how Africans aren't really looked at as intelligent and capable and everything like that. But I'm like, but I know this history, and that says otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started thinking like, well, these kids need to know this history, and they don't just need to know about Pythagoras and Aristotle.
From us, by the way.
And play up exactly. So exactly. So that's why I was like, Motherland Math. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach math from an Afrocentric perspective, and I'm going to teach, and I'm going to show children and teens, because later I'm going to make other versions. But I'm going to show everybody that's learning math that, hey, Africa did it too. I mean, we did it first. So yeah, and so with the course, I touch on Kemetic multiplication, or ancient Egyptian multiplication. I touch on the fact that even binary code, the foundations of binary code, not even the foundations, but there've been many tribes that have used the same concepts that are used to drive our computers and our smartphones and all of our technology. And so I actually teach the binary code in the course. And I also teach other ways of counting in the course, as well as multiplication, addition, subtraction, going into magic squares, and going into different versions of I want to go into engineering, and just all types of versions of math, so that, again, children of African descent, and then even children that are not of African descent, they can see that, okay, it's not just this one culture doing everything.
Right.
It's multiple cultures. We all do it. We all can do it. We're all capable. And now you can learn that. So
right.
Yeah,
and
too excited.
I love that you just brought that out, because whenever we think about Egypt, the first thing that comes to mind are the pyramids, and the pyramids are math concepts in and of themselves.
Yes, nothing.
Exactly.
Right.
You're looking at numbers when you look at it.
Right. So it's so important for us to understand the parallels, because there's so much that we don't know. And so your class sounds like it would give us an opportunity to kind of, and probably not just the students themselves, but it would challenge the parents to kind of dig a little deeper and understand the concept that came from Africa. So I love the premise of the class. And how would someone find out, to learn more? Let's say they hear this podcast, they're intrigued. How do they find out how to sign up for the class?
Oh, well, I'll tell you that for sure. So first way is to go on purposefullearningacademy.teachable.com. That's where it lives for right now. And then you can also find more information on facebook.com/Motherland Math.
Okay.
Motherland Math, common spelling.
For the people who are listening to this podcast, we will definitely put that in our show notes page. So it will be, if you're trying to get there with a short link, try bit.ly/CCSPODCA podcast, CATST number 16. So that's CCSPODCAST 16.
Awesome.
And we will put that in the show notes so that people can sign up for the Motherland math class. It sounds like it will be an excellent course. And so this first installment that you have available, what ages?
Okay.
Tell us what ages and when it starts.
So this is for ages, and I would say grade levels for ages 9 to 15. Grade levels 4th through 7th grade. And I'll also be doing higher levels coming up. I'm actually going to do a Kickstarter as well for those higher levels because I want to make the curriculum a lot greater. It's actually great already, but I just want to take it to a higher level. But as far as the actual course now, I've had parents take it, and again from 4th grade to 7th grade, everybody has benefited. Everybody has learned something, even if they were already they already mastered the concepts that were in the course. They loved the history. If they didn't master the concepts in the course, they loved the type of instruction that was in it. And it's all self-paced. So, and it's out now. It's available now. So once you sign up, you can start that day and take as long as you want or as little time as you need.
Okay. Well, that sounds awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Sign me up.
Good stuff. And I appreciate you all having me on the platform to talk, and definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah, so we definitely have to have you back because I know that we have more questions.
Yes, we can get deeper into specific and not be so, broad,
general,
with it.
For sure.
So we will have to make a date, and we'll have to get questions from our audience, our listeners, if they have questions for you as well. But I definitely encourage everybody to look up the class, take the class, join the class, because we have to teach our children. If we want them to understand their future, we have to teach them about the past and their brilliance. And the people that they are from were brilliant, and the people that they are becoming are brilliant. So we want to empower our kids. So thank you for this opportunity to share with us. I think, we want our kids to love math. And I think that you gave us some tools to help us, because I think as parents, it can seem a little bit overwhelming when you're trying to, I think some of us try to transfer our knowledge onto our kids, and that may not be the best way to do it. And so I think that, understanding more tips and tricks can definitely help reduce the frustration that comes with homeschooling or comes with teaching your kids math. Because what happens is kids go to school and they learn math, and a lot of times they come home and we find out they don't know it.
Right.
And so parents are having to reteach what they thought the teacher taught.
Yeah.
Right. Homework is dreaded and terrible to get through.
And a lot of parents didn't learn those foundations in school. And so when they're coming home, it's challenging for them to show their kids. So I know for sure that we're going to need you to shed some light on that and talk a little more about how parents can overcome their own fears, because a lot of times if the kids have that fear, a lot of times the parents have that fear too, and that's what happens. So I think we definitely have to have you on, and we thank you for giving us your time and your expertise.